Hey folks, it's Florida Deere. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to go over the differences between a garden tractor and a lawn tractor. Now, these are more than a decade apart from each other, and neither one of them is newer than 15 years old. So, bear with me. I mean, on this channel we deal with older tractors, but you'll get the basic understanding of what makes a lawn tractor and a garden tractor a garden tractor. And we're not going to dive into the deep part of what each model or which series offers, but we're just going to go over the basics between these two types of riding mowers or tractors, whatever you want to call them, and we'll kind of get into that right now. Okay folks, so looking at these, obviously you can tell that garden tractors are typically larger than lawn tractors. They typically have larger tires, they have a beefier frame, they have a beefier front axle, they have a beefier transaxle. They probably have a more superior line of engines, technically speaking. They may have things like hydraulics, liquid cooling for the engines versus air cooled. Some might be electronic fuel injection versus being just carbureted. So we'll kind of dive into those more specific things right now. So the first one we're going to cover is the X304, and that is because that is the lawn tractor, and that is what most people will end up buying, okay? Because it's basically going to cover the needs of what most people need, which is mowing the grass, maybe towing around a little cart or something like that. Usually not anything more substantial than that. So what you're going to see here is you're going to see this is an X300 series, so it's a pretty decent beefy axle. When we get to the 455, you'll see that it's quite a bit smaller. But this is a cast iron axle. That's what you'd want. It's a 42-inch deck. And you have also a less substantial frame and a less substantial transaxle too. So you're going to have, this is a K46. Often they'll come with K58s. And the seats aren't going to be as nice. They might be decent, but they're not as nice as garden tractors, generally speaking. These are going to come with usually air-cooled only engines. Now these are the X300 series, so they're all going to be Kawasaki's, which are closer to a commercial grade than you'll get at like Home Depot or Lowe's, where they're going to be coming with Briggs & Stratton engines. So just keep that in mind. You can get them cheaper at Lowe's and Home Depot, but it's not going to be the same quality as this right here. Generally speaking, the decks are also smaller on lawn tractors and they're larger on garden tractors. There is, in the middle of each of them, some overlap often, but the biggest decks are only going to go on garden tractors and the smallest decks are only going to go on lawn tractors. The other thing is, this is a 5-lug style wheel. Same with this one. Usually on lawn tractors you won't see that. You see it on this one because this one's a 4-wheel steer model. As you can tell, the wheels are all cockeyed like that. And so it's usually going to be attached with like a C-clip or like a snap ring or something like that, or maybe even a bolt or something, but it's not going to be an automotive style like 5-lug setup or 4-lug setup or whatever. So just keep that in mind. So now I'm going to talk about garden tractors, and this particular one is a 1997 455. So as you can tell right off the bat, the deck is much larger on this, and basically another foot wider, and it's not even the biggest deck that you can get on this one. You can get a 60-inch deck on this one as well. You get the pretty giant front axle there with spindles and everything, and so it's a beefy. And then this one also has power steering, which is why you see the hoses and the cylinders. And then instead of a K46 or K58, this has a K90 series transmission, which is actually driven from the engine by a shaft, where every lawn tractor that I'm aware of is driven by a belt. And in fact, the deck is driven by a belt as well, where here, I don't know if I can show you, but so some other differences real quick is that most of the stuff on these is going to be manual, but it could be, you might have some models that have power steering or hydraulic lift. On here, you're going to have everything that's hydraulic and power steering and all that kind of stuff. So you have 4 outlets there. So you have 2 circuits. You have the power steering up here. You also have a traction lock. So this can lock the 2 rear tires together. You're not really going to see that on a lawn tractor. So the other thing is, I think I had mentioned the seats are decent on a lawn tractor. They have a suspension seat on the garden tractors. And if you get a really fancy lawn tractor, it might have something like that as well. Or if you get a really basic garden tractor, it might not come with a fancier seat. But by and large, when you're spending more money on a garden tractor, you're going to get a lot more stuff with that. Another difference between these two is without their decks. I think the X304 is about 550 pounds. Without the deck, the 455 with the all-wheel steer is going to weigh in at, I think it's 1,060 pounds. So the weight difference is almost double. And that's just because we have the stronger frames, the bigger transmissions, tires. I mean, just everything about a garden tractor is going to be superior to a lawn tractor, except for when it comes to price or maybe the ability to store it, because garden tractors are typically going to be larger. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out is that these will often come with, these can be like, basically, the garden tractors can be like mini utility tractors. So this one's equipped with a 3-point hitch. You can actually equip it with a rear PTO as well. This one does not have a rear PTO. So it has a mid PTO. You can actually engineer it to have a front PTO as well. That's only ever going to have a PTO for the mower deck. I don't know how you would arrange a snowblower. I'm just not familiar with that, to be honest with you. So there might be some way to do it. Having said that, this is going to handle a snowblower like far better than any garden tractor would. Because it's just heavier. Things that are heavier require less ballast. They're more balanced. It's going to stay more planted, those kind of things. That's why we have this on the back, because we're about to put a little mini loader on this, so it needs to have some ballast. So we're going to load this up with some concrete blocks, and maybe even pour some concrete in there, who knows. And this is just going to be, like I said, just your very standard regular yard chores, and that's about it. Okay, folks, so one of the first things people will point out about the two, amongst the other differences that I'm going to go over, is the lawn tractor is going to be for basic work, and then the garden tractor is going to be for heavy duty work, like ground engagement attachments like tillers or big plows, snow blades, snow blowers. You can use those things on the lawn tractor as well, but the garden tractor is going to handle those much better, especially if you're in hilly territory. The transaxles are just a lot beefier, a lot stronger in a garden tractor because they're equipped to do work with ground engagement. These bigger ones actually can use loaders and all sorts of different attachments where you're not going to be able to do like really any of that with a lawn tractor. I know they've rigged up some different ways to use lawn tractors with loaders, but it's probably overall a bad idea, I would say. The frame and just the general architecture of each is really going to favor the garden tractor for that kind of stuff. Where the lawn tractor is really good is obviously initial price, and also storing it is a little bit easier because they're generally smaller.
So just to give you an idea about these frames, they're like, what is that, 3.5 inches, something like that right there. Here a little bit smaller. But then when you get back here, where the load carrying is required, it's like 9 inches deep. And then you have like 2-point-something inches there, almost 3. Same thing on the other side. And as you get back here, they're also pretty stinking large. You got the gas tank covering up some of that. But that's so it can carry 3-point hitches or operate that, handle loaders, all that kind of stuff, big heavy stuff. And then we'll mic this. I think this is about 1/4 inch or just about 1/4 inch. That kind of gives you an idea about the garden tractor. So by comparison, this is the back part of the lawn tractor, and you're looking at about 4.5 inches there. And back here, it's, I mean, it might be marginally bigger. I don't know. Actually, no, it's about 4 inches there. You got a couple bolts there. And then it just gets smaller closer to the front. As you can see right there, it's not super big either. It's probably about 3 inches, no more than 4 inches up there. And the other thing is, you're gonna see probably not as thick. Let's see here. Yeah, so that's like quite a bit thinner. It's like a little over 1/8 of an inch, where the other frame was almost 1/4 inch, or not quite 1/4 inch, just shy of 1/4 inch. This is just a hair over 1/8. So, you know, that's the difference right there too. So the garden tractors are just going to be altogether beefier. Hey folks, so that pretty much concludes my video. I figured I'd conclude it with another pick of one of my garden tractors here, the 322, which has a mid PTO and a rear PTO to drive this. And again, this is going to be a lot heavier duty application than a garden tractor. I mean, it even has weights on it to make it heavier. But nonetheless, if you like this video, hit the like button. I'd appreciate that and help grow the channel. And if you wanted to see more videos on garden tractors, lawn tractors, or my John Deere 1 series, you can hit the subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.